Welcome back to the Morning Show here on Rise News. Now, the off-cycle elections in Imo, Bayelsa and Kogi State have finally been conducted, and all that's left is the official announcement of winners after collation has been completed. Heading into the election, all attention had been on how the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and security agencies will conduct the electoral process. Joining us to take a look at the performance of the INEC and the security agencies is Andrew Enwanta, a former Edo Commissioner of Communications and Orientation and a law lecturer. We want to say thank you very much for joining us here on the Morning Show. Welcome. Now, to get this started, I would say, what's your assessment of the...
Thank you for having me.
Okay. What's your assessment of the off-cycle elections that took place yesterday in Imo, Bayelsa, and Kogi states?
Yeah. Thank you for that question. It's more like what we have always had in Nigeria, nothing really new. I'm sorry to say that even some of the places where election took place, like Kogi, we had situations where election results were even out before the process started. And I think it gives a whole lot of feeling that our electoral process is still not grown to a point where Nigerians will be allowed to decide who leads them. And I think if you look at our own constitutional architecture, it places sovereignty in the hands of the people. But unfortunately, you find that INEC now plays almost a pioneering or a leading role, and in some cases, even our courts. Remember in Bayelsa, it was even close to the election, the court now decided if Silva was a candidate of the APC. So I think some of these are the problems that we face currently in Nigeria, particularly the problem of vote buying, the problem of rigging, and falsification of election results. And I think there's need for holistic reform. In the US, they have off-year election in places like Ohio, Kentucky, and Virginia. If you compare that with what is happening in Nigeria, you find that we are miles away from what an electoral process should be in terms of its credibility, in terms of its acceptance, and in terms of if the people are actually part of the process. And I also noticed this problem of voter apathy. A place like Imo, I was listening to the election results. A local government like Electoral, a place close to Owerri, you had the total number of registered voters there, I think 153,283. And when you look at the number of accredited voters, below 25,000. That is to say, less than a quarter of registered voters came out to vote. And that brings us to the question of what factors really trigger voter apathy in Nigeria. The first, as I've earlier mentioned, is the problem of electoral malpractice. We also have this issue of poor voter education. How many of our people know the benefits of participating in the electoral process? Most people get their PVCs just for purposes of identification. They want to open a bank account, so they need to get a PVC. And I think it is an aberration for us to have a system where we have registered voters who don't come out to vote. And also we have this problem of a weak political culture. Most political parties don't have ideology. I mentioned the 3 elections that took place in America. The off-year election that took place in America. The issue of abortion access became a critical one. And if you notice from the results, a state like Ohio, the Democrats won there because they promised putting that in their constitution in the state, and constitution in Ohio. And that also played out in Kentucky. Then in Virginia, the Democrats cleared the entire state in the state Senate. So for us in Nigeria, where are we? The problem of insecurity is also there. I mentioned Imo. You have this problem of IPOB. In the Northeast, you have the problem of Boko Haram. People are scared to come out to vote. The issue of the use of thugs. We saw a situation where a voter, or rather a ballot box snatcher was shot. How about a situation where that becomes a stray bullet? In the recent election in Edo, we had many cases of people who came out to vote and they died in the process of coming out. So I think that accounts for why we have voter apathy. Running through these variables is the problem of corruption. INEC officials are corrupt. I'm sorry to say university lecturers, as an academic, it's quite sad that people who are part of this process are university lecturers. So what role do they play? So the problem of corruption, it's key in identifying why we have the kind of situation we presently have in Nigeria.
Okay, so Andrew, thanks for coming on the show this morning. It's good to hear you talk about the election from yesterday, and it's obvious that you've been monitoring what's going on. So let's translate that into what is expected come the next election in Edo State. The people are gearing up for this election. It's going to be an off-cycle election as well. So do you anticipate that the people will have their say and will have the right result in the coming election, or you're expressing concern about capacity of INEC and the system generally being able to manage the Edo State election, governorship election?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Edo State had elections the last time in 2020, and I think INEC was given a fair assessment in terms of its performance in that last election. Between that time and now, we've had 2 other elections, namely the general elections of this year, and just recently we had a local government election, and that is the latest. And I can tell you for free that the local government elections we had in Edo was a mockery of what we call democracy. I say this because it was a case of, writing of election results. It was a case of elections did not take place in some places, but we saw election results being announced. There was even a particular local government, Etako West, where in a particular ward, it was said from a viral video that a candidate of the ruling party scored 1 million votes. And the question is, what is the number of registered voters in the entire local government? Not even up to, 500,000. So it's quite unfortunate that our own system is still very primitive. And look at the outcome of that election. After the election, there were no election petition tribunals to try the entire process because you had too many persons who were aggrieved. One of the candidates, I think of Labour Party in Oredo local government, applied to have access to the ballot papers and materials used for the election, and he was told to go and bring 19 billion naira. Is that not corruption? So for us as a people, we must ask ourselves, how do we get it right? The Edo election will not be different from the ones we've just had. And I ask myself, have we not had good elections in this country? Have we not had good election managers in this country? The June 12, 1993 election today is rated as the best. It was said to be the fairest, and the most credible, though the outcome was truncated by the then military dictator IBB. But the process was perfect. Why was it perfect? Why? Because of the mode that was adopted, the open ballot system, popularly known as Option A4. In most political party primaries today, we use that method, and the election is seen as transparent. I give you an example. When I was still in my former party, the PDP, we had councillorship primaries. My candidate defeated the candidate by the powers that be. What they saw was that people came out, they queued behind the particular candidate who was the popular candidate, and he won. Government House cancelled that election. We did it again. My candidate won the second time. So I think the time has come for us to have a holistic review. I don't think it's a question of saying we should have an electoral system that is electronic. No, we can adopt the option A4 system, which looks homegrown, which is autochthonous. The people will know that they come out, they vote for a particular candidate. In that case, you don't have a situation where people snatch ballot boxes. In that case, you don't have a situation where results will be manipulated because the entire world will see who is the leading candidate because people will queue behind that particular candidate. And I think the time has come for the National Assembly, for Nigerians to make that agitation that we must go back to that 1993 model of Option A4. And I think it's the freest and the best form of election system, which I think moving forward we should adopt. But coming back to the Edo question, we expect the election managers, and when we talk of the election management, we're not just talking of INEC, we're talking of the observers, we're talking of the security agencies, and I think the president must provide leadership because Edo stands alone. Edo is not like the election we had yesterday, we had 3 different elections. So all men and material should be mobilized to ensure that, just like in 2020, the election in Edo is free, fair, and credible.
All right, Andrew, let's talk about what's happened in Kogi State, whereby elections were suspended in a local government. 9 wards were actually, elections were suspended in 9 wards in a particular local government. Okay, Andrew, you will need to hold on. Let's cross over to Owe. We'll get back to you as collation has begun again.
Party BP 617. Party LP 64081. 64081. Party NNPP 1062. 1062. Party NRM 344. 344. Party PDP 71503. 71503. Party PRP 265. 265. Party SDP 717. 717. Party YPP 1175. 1175. Party ZLP 805. 805. Please, let the agents come and sign this. Party by party.
Party AA, Party AAC, Party AGC, Party ADP, Party APC, Party ABGA, Party APM, Party ABP, Party BP, Party LP to follow. Party LP, Party NNPP, Party NRM, Party PDP, Party PRP, Party SDP, Party YPP, Party ZLP.
copies. This one go to the office. That's, yeah.
Professor,
Yeah.
please, I want to plead with you at the gates, so many against the traffic. Can you permit me to go to the gate and be here? SDP is there, ABC is there, ZLP is there.
Oh, it's okay.
So please let me rush to the gate and help clear the queue. Then, just 2 minutes.
Okay. And the agreement was 9:30. I think we should allow them. Yeah. APC, I sit down. Yeah, son. Okay. that you are sharing for them. Just come. Right. All the police, all the agents. Sorry, how many party agents are here that have signed? Only 3? 4? Okay, 5. Okay. 26.
Duplicates different is for this all this one, this one, INEC, yes. Both of these belongs to party. Police, party against. Some of them are not clear. That's quite. Whether I can write. Maybe we should just writing down one. So this one is for INEC. What does this one? It's for party agent.
Let me just. Sorry,
This one is going to.
party, we have BP. ABC. AP, ZPM or AP, APP or APM. Which other party that is there? Well, you can look at this. Anyone you can pick. Thank you. Return that one. Any other party that is here? We'll give you quite. Sorry. Okay. Take. Don't worry, we'll help you to do after. Look at this. You can pick anyone that you like. That one is. Okay. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the real matter of the day. By the power conferred on me, I, Professor Fashino Abayomi Sunday, hereby certify that I'm the returning officer for the 2023 Imo State governorship election held on the 11th day of November 2023. The election was contested and the candidate received the following votes. Party A, 1017. Party AA. Party A, the name of the candidate, Okere John Chud Uchena, 1017. Party AA, score 5756. The name is Ogunewe Lincoln Kenoyemere Jack. Party AAC, the candidate Awulonu Emmanuel Ifeanyi, scored 537 votes. Party ADC, Okoroma James Otumbadi, scored 3178. Party ADP, Inwoga Onye Kachi Steve, scored 2947. Party APC, represented by Izodima Odidika Good Hope, scored 540,308. 540308. Ejiogu Anthony, Party Abga, score 6392. Party APM, represented by Odoziem Clinton Chibuke, score 328 votes. Party APP, Achilike Adamson Obiese, score 306 votes. Party BP, Inwayang Isaac, score 617 votes. Party LP, represented by Achonu Ineji, score 64,081. 64081. Oduneze Uchebe, represent MPP, score 1062. Party NRL, represented by Okwara Lawrence Cole, score 344 votes. 344 votes. Party PDP, represented by Anyamu Samuel Nemeka, scored 71503 votes. 71503 votes. Party PRP, represented by Icheku Ichiodu, scored 265. Party SDP, represented by Ekwele Belem Obina Bright, scored 717. Party YPP, represented by Okwara KMD Chino, scored 1175. 1075. Lastly, party ZLP, represented by Andy Chibuke, score 805. That is Odima Odidika, Good Hope of APC, having certified the requirements of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected. Signed as the returning officer, Fashino Abayomi Sunday, dated 12th day of
All right, obviously, 2023 governorship election results. Imo State, the incumbent, Governor Hope Uzodinma, has been elected for a second term in office and is expected to be very happy. We're looking forward to our reporters on ground looking at these numbers now and reaching out to Governor Hope Uzodinma, who should be giving his acceptance speech. But we have Andrew Enwanta, a former Edo State Commissioner of Communications and Orientation and a law lecturer. So help us now, Andrew. You've seen the results. How do you feel about this outcome, considering all the, in a manner of speaking, the shenanigans that has happened in Imo State till now?
Yeah, thank you. I will start by first saying, as a party man, I feel happy because I am a member of the APC. It's victory for my party. But how do I feel as a patriotic citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? I don't feel very good because we still have this problem of voter apathy, as I earlier identified, which remains a bane of our democracy. Because if we say democracy is a government of the people, by the people and for the people, and due to those factors I identified, the problem of electoral malpractice, the problem of poor voter education, the problem of weak political culture, the problem of insecurity, and that now prevents people from coming out to vote, to exercise their franchise. I think it's not something we should celebrate. It's something that should make us to have some serious sober reflection. Because you look at our own democracy, look at countries like Ghana, South Africa, Kenya, they are miles away from us. So I think there's need for a holistic reform. As I've earlier posited, there's need for us to change the way we conduct elections in Nigeria. It's not just to say we want to use electronic means, and we are not even ripe enough for an electronic means of transmission. Remember in Imo, there was this problem of violence in Ogbaku, where the beavers machine did not work. That was not an election in Ogbaku. If you cannot exercise your franchise, no matter how small the population is, it is part of a process. But that is not to say that APC has not won. APC has won. So the outcome and the process, you cannot separate the two. The process was not good. Yes, we may have a beautiful outcome, which naturally favors my political party. We will not blame the governor for that process. It is the system we should blame. Because over the years, we've not been able to get it right with the election. And I think if we talk of the dividends of democracy, the real dividend of democracy, it is free, fair, and credible elections. Because the problem we have today of corruption, of underdevelopment, revolves around how we recruit our leaders. And I think the time has come. It's a very serious issue. And I've even recommended that we go back to the 1993 model of that open ballot system, option A4, where people come out with the hope that when they come out, their votes will count. They stay on a queue. If John is a candidate of PDP, people are meant to queue behind him under an open ballot system. We will not have problems of ballot box snatching. We will not have problem of manipulation of election results, because by the time the election results are determined openly, it will be a case of now moving those results to the collation center. You find that it's very cost effective because it is the people themselves that decide. Our system is not ripe enough for electronic voting. We should not deceive ourselves. Remember, we had this problem of electronic glitch, which INEC. INEC said, oh, they could not upload results. We don't even have this issue of constant power, the idea of the human element, of manipulating results. And again, I ask myself this question: why do we always use university lecturers? I'm a university lecturer. I know what colleagues do with exam results. They manipulate exam results. I think the time has come for us to involve the clergy, not just the Christian clergy, but the Islamic clergy. We also should involve other professionals, not just lecturers. And I tell you, the history of this started with Professor Maurice Ewu. Remember, from that time, we've always had professors as INEC chairman. They like bringing in their colleagues. So I think that is where the problem is. And I don't want to even go to this issue of blocking and the rest, but I think the time has come for us to involve more Nigerians as polling officers, as APO, as not just university lecturers. We should use other professionals. We should use our pastors. Because when men of God are part of this process, and when I say men of God, I mean across board, even our African traditional people, those that serve Ugu and Olokun, involve them.
Okay.
Because people will even respect these people more than university lecturers.
Okay, so you're saying that it will be very interesting to have herbalists and traditional religious leaders. Is that what you're saying, Andrew? That yes, we should have them?
Yes, because they should be part of the process. Because if you look at what section 14 sub 2 paragraph A says, it says sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria, from whom government derives all its powers and authority. These people are Nigerians. Why use only university lecturers? Most of them have not been paid salaries. So there's this likelihood of inducement. So I think we must get it right. We should not always complain when, for instance, a PDP member is made a state resident electoral commissioner. But who are those on ground on election day? Most of these lecturers are not members of political parties. And even the process of recruiting them, don't you think that politicians will want to bring in people who will be loyal to them? So I think we must get it right by having a holistic review. It is not just about our laws, but at times our system. But for the option of voting, that one I recommended, the option A4, I think there's need for Nigerians to call on our present National Assembly to amend both the Electoral Act and the Constitution to allow for an option A4 system of voting. Okay. I think that will encourage people to come out to vote, because they know that if they come out on election day, and they see how the process is, it will encourage them. Remember, June 12, even our present commander-in-chief, President Bola Tinubu, was a beneficiary of that election. In 1992, he won his election into the Senate, the Nigerian Senate, under this option A4 model. And today we'll talk about that election that brought in MQ Abiola. That was a Muslim ticket too. Nigerians came all out to vote, and the election was free, fair, and credible. So I think we should use that, because what do we call laws? Our constitutional system flows from our history. The 1979 Constitution, our present Constitution is modeled on that. So why can't we model our proposed electoral system on the June 12 model, which we all agree was free, fair, and credible?
Okay.
Because on that election day, you will even use less security. Because if all the registered voters are there, yes, nobody in his right senses will want to snatch ballot boxes.
Yes, okay. Andrew, I would like you to please just stay with us for a few more minutes. For more on the election, we're now joined by our Rice correspondent, Saturday Ochia, to give us updates from Imo State. Yes, so please, Saturday, what's happening out there this Sunday morning in Imo State with the results that's been given with regards to the fact that Governor Hope Uzodinma is now announced as the winner of the election? Saturday.
Thank you very much. This morning, the All Progressive Congress candidate in the Imo governorship election has been declared winner. His Excellency Hope Uzodinma. He scored 540,308, whereas the PDP candidate, Sam Anyanwu, scored 71,508, and the Labour candidate, Atan Achono, scored 64,081 votes. That is the situation now. And the government house where we are now, there are jubilations in government house. People are happy that the governor has been returned to continue the good job he has been doing. This is a total consolidation of all the governor has been doing over the years. So far, so good in government as where we are now. It is good.
Okay, so when you look at the numbers that we see, you can see that even if you combine the number of votes of both the PDP and the Labour Party together, it still does not add up to the number of votes that the incumbent governor, who's now getting another term in office by virtue of the votes that he scored. You look at that and you begin to wonder, was it that clearly overwhelming in terms of the support that the governor has gotten when you look at the way people seem to be campaigning and voting over the last 24 hours? Was that very clear? Saturday, you're still with us. Can you hear? I guess Saturday is trying to get somebody to join.
Yes, I can hear.
Yes, okay. So when you look at the numbers, you add the votes of the PDP and APC together, it's still not up to the number of votes that Hope Uzodimma scored or got. So does it mean that the people of Imo State are overwhelmingly in support of Hope Uzodimma? Is that the feeling you get on ground?
Well, you know where we are now is Nigeria. Even though in Nigeria here, during the presidential election, you find out that people did not turn out en masse to cast their votes in this particular election. But what happens is Nigerian factor, which you and I know very, 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 very well. Even though in the area of security, the security operatives, they have done very, 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 very well. So, right, they have done very, very well. But I have a senator representing Olu Senatorial District with me to speak more on this issue. He is Senator Isunaso. Senator, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
How do you describe the election?
Well, we're very delighted. We're very elated. We're happy that what I predicted has happened. Because I predicted that we're going to win the 27 local governments. And the reason is because elections and politics are done with human beings, not on the pages of newspapers. Throughout the period we were campaigning, we were not seeing the opponent. So initially I got worried. I said, how come these people are not in the field? But we discovered that they don't have the capacity, they don't have what it takes to be in the field. So that is why you can see that the result is overwhelming. Overwhelming. People have come out to express their love, their happiness, and they voted for APC. Because APC have also done well in Imo State in the last 4 years. We have done exceedingly very well. So you can see that it is a reaction of what has happened so far in the last 4 years, and people are happy, and they voted en masse. So you can see the way the result is. In some areas, it's very low because of voter apathy. In some areas, it's also high because of level of mobilization and participation. So I think I'm happy that this election have come the way it is, and I'm happy because I predicted it, and what I predicted has happened, so I'm happy about it.
But so far, since yesterday, you can understand that both the Labour Party and the PDP, they are complaining that the election is rigged.
Nobody can even freely accept any election. Once people are defeated, they will begin to go to all manner of places to start making noise. In my local government, for example, after I voted, I went back to my house until when they were ready to count the vote, I came out. When we finished from my ward, we went to the local government. I didn't see anybody representing PDP or Labour. I didn't see anybody. At the point, I now asked, where are the agents? Where are the agents? They said one person came and left. I said, no, these people are not serious. Election is bumper to bumper, bumper to bumper. From Friday night, our people were at CBN. We saw them there. Local government, we saw them. After a while, we didn't see anybody again. Is that how to do election? So they were not ready for election. And Imo people have spoken in their large numbers that APC is a party to beat in the state. And they have gone ahead to vote for APC. So it is not a time for people to say, we don't accept the result. Which result are you not accepting? This one that is so clear, so overwhelmingly clear, so glaring, people are happy, people are jubilating, everybody's looking, the candidates was here at the government house with the press, everybody's happy. So why are you saying he won't accept the result? How? I think they should immediately pick up their phone and call the governor to congratulate him so we can start working together for our state. Each and every one of us have a role to play in the development of our state. So they should pick up their phone and call the governor and say congratulations. Then they will come back and we'll accommodate them and we'll move forward.
And finally, 4 years, what are we expecting?
Well, what we're expecting can never be less than what we have seen in the last 4 years. We have seen Owerolu Road dualized with street light. It has never happened before in Imo State. We have seen Owerokigwe Road perfectly built with street light. We have seen Omahe Road in progress. So what we're expecting now is something far more than what we saw in the last 4 years. So the governor has told us, he has told everybody that he's going to work harder than what we saw in the last 4 years. So that is my own expectation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's Senator Sita Isunaso representing Olo Senatorial District speaking to us. So that is the situation for now.
Thank you.
As the event unfolds, we get back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Saturday Ochair, there in Government House in Owerri, Imo State. We'll go on and bring on Obadeoye to give us, to have a bit more conversation about the election. Oba, how are you? Good morning. You are in Owerri as well. What's happening on your side of Owerri?
Yes, I'm still within the premises of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, here in Owerri, the state capital, where the state governor, that's Opuzodima, has been announced as the winner of yesterday's election and returned for a second term in office. He scored a total of more than 504,000 votes to defeat his closest rival, which is the PDP, and of course the candidate of the Labour Party. Here is a mixed atmosphere that we have right here at the INEC office. You know, the joy of victory and the agony of defeat. Supporters of the APC, you know, they have an idea of what the results look like before the resident electoral commissioner, the returning officer rather, made the pronouncement. So they were just waiting for him to make the pronouncement before they burst into, you know, spontaneous celebration, singing tribal songs and, you know, dancing the Igbo way, while you can see, you know, supporters of the other parties wearing long faces, hoping that they were in the shoes of the APC supporters. So the security operatives are still around. Some of them are packing, you know, the assignment has been completed and they are to return to base. You can see some of them behind me. You can even see some of them near me. We've been staying here. We stayed here, you know, throughout the night together, keeping vigil and ensuring that things played out according to the law, according to regulation. Let me get the supporter of one of the candidates here to see if he can speak with us on TV. So, gentlemen, let me have you here. Okay, I'll try and get him later. So, for now, we are still in Owerri. We have not gone to town to see what the situation looks like. But right here, within the premises of the Independent National Electoral Commission, it has been celebration. It has been, you know, people wearing long faces, and of course, security men packing up. Some journalists are also packing up their equipment and ready to leave for their respective bases. You can see the security officers there. You can see some police officers trying to pack some of their tools in preparation for their departure from Owerri. So it's been a very long night for us here at the INEC office. Let me speak with the agent of the APC, who I learned is also the Attorney General of the state. Am I right?
Yes.
Let me have your name, sir.
Chief COC Akoli, sir.
Now that your candidate has been declared the winner and returned as the governor of the Imo State, how does it feel?
It feels great. It feels great. Demonstrated in this election their love for the governor, their support for the governor, that they are ready to back him in all he's doing, that they appreciate the good work he's doing, and that is the most important thing. Imo people love hope. Imo people love hope, and hope is going to do more for the people of Imo State.
Are you not bothered that there were a lot of protests about the outcome of this election by the opposition party, especially the chairman of the Labour Party, who was dragged out of that all? You know, they were complaining that the figures being announced in that all does not reflect what really transpired on the field yesterday, where we have widespread voter apathy. What's your reaction?
My brother, what happened is that in any election of this nature, where a candidate of APC had covered the ground, has captured the grassroots, has covered all sectors of the Imo population, the churches, the markets, the road transport workers, the ordinary workers in Imo State, the Secretariat of Imo workers. Governor has done a lot for Imo workers. So all the sectors of Imo life have been captured by the governor. Governor has shown goodwill to the people. Governor has shown prudence. Governor has shown prudence. Governor has shown that he is a man who Imo people can entrust with their mega resources, because he has used that mega resources for the development of Imo State. He is not a governor who has used their resources frivolously.
So you are saying that despite the poor turnout of voters yesterday, these figures that were announced in that all is a reflection of the way Imo-lites voted?
Yes, of course, that is exact. What you may turn them as a low turnout may be based on the security situation. You know, a lot of people were anticipating a lot of things to happen because there were threats from all quarters, asking people not to come out and all that. So, but those who had the courage to come out came out and faced the election and voted for Hope Uzodimma.
There were instances of people, you know, inducing voters with money yesterday. Some men were arrested. I couldn't ascertain whether they are members of your party or members of the...
My brother, in every election, you see a lot of things, a lot of complaints. How verifiable are they? You understand? But once a man has won an election, you will see a lot of people complaining about it, especially from the opposition, because but as at yesterday, they knew they had failed the election. Before they went into the field, the opposition knew that they were not in the election, because the man has covered all the ground and Imo people has accepted him. So a lot of, they were asked, the Labour Party candidate, for instance, the PDP candidate, for instance, their leaders were asking them to step down for Hope Uzodimma. But they insisted they must run the election. And they have run the election. They have seen the consequence. They have seen what the people were asking them to do. So there is nothing. Imo people needed hope. Imo people are supporting hope. Imo people are expecting someone to go ahead and develop Imo State for them. Because Imo people are appreciating what he is doing for them. That is the bottom line.
Thank you so very much. You just listened to the Attorney General, to the Attorney General of the state. I just spoke with him now, and he's saying that that figures, you know, reflected how people voted yesterday. Although we saw things, you know, firsthand yesterday, that there were widespread voter apathy across the land. Let me get the views of, you know, one of the opposition party representatives of the ABGA, that's All Grand Progressive Alliance. Can you tell me your name?
Yes, Honorable Chief Barrister Kenny Sonyekachi Madokajo Bulimba Ikwekala.
So your party lost this election. How does it feel?
From what we saw, from the results so far, we came forth on the result that just read about 20 minutes ago. But then we are just troubled about that because we know that we did all we're supposed to do, and we followed up. Though there was no vote buying by us, we did not get involved in vote buying. We didn't get involved in targeting. We didn't get involved in MAME or even castigations or any other that can be negative. But the thing is that I must say that I moved the motion before the REC and the returning officer that they should give us 10 minutes to prepare and come back because of the kind of noise that we had from the beginning of the collation. And then when we now came back, I was surprised that nothing was done again. And then what we saw was thugs from all over beating up everybody and scattering the system.
So are you satisfied with the outcome of the process, despite that we had poor turnout of voters yesterday? Would you say that those figures are read out inside that all actually reflect what really happened yesterday?
Yes, I want to let you know that it's very, very difficult for you to beat a child and ask the child not to cry. So I think what we are doing now is to cry, and we are crying to God and crying to heaven, just like they will always say, go to God. I think that was what happened today. If you are not satisfied with what happened, go to God. That's why I stayed towards making sure that I start from the process and close to the process and do the things I ought to do and documented what I'm supposed to document. I think so far so good. We have everything to say that indeed we came, we saw, and we conquered. But I'm very much sure and convincing that my candidate, Satoni Ejogu, remains the best as far as this election is and was concerned. And I know that it's just that it's temporary loss, as the case may be, and he's going to get up to get to what belongs to him. It can be delayed, but it will not be denied.
You said you came, you saw, you conquered,
yes,
but you are in number 4.
Yes.
Is that the definition of a conqueror for
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. The word conquer is that when you have inner satisfaction, that makes you a conqueror. Just like when a small child of 2 years has gone to steal money, and that child cannot parade the biscuit that he bought with that money in public, because there are good questions. How do you get this money? Where do you get money to buy this biscuit? I think that's what we are suffering now. But our own, we are bold to show people, to make people know that what was given to us was not what we got. And then where these things were manufactured from, we don't know. But then that most of the people who never believed in us could not even believe that we could even come forth in such a volatile election where we had the PDP, the rest of AP, that of APC, and that came forth. It has a lot of meaning. Though there is a very big story about fort, historically and spiritually in Imo. So I think I'm having that suspicion that that fort is going to reminisce to the real fort, and that fort is a fort. Automatically, number 4 signifies number 1.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. You can listen to that. Thank you so very much. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Number 4 in Imo State. If you don't understand what that meant, you know, Opuzodima came forth in the last governorship election, but he went to court, and at the end of the day, he was pronounced the true winner of that election. So that gentleman I just spoke with is also, you know, trying to rev up his faith in the number 4. Let me see if I can also get the opinions of an independent observer of the exercise yesterday. Can I have your name and what do you represent?
Yeah, okay, I'm Chris Agiri of the Flag Foundation of Nigeria.
What are your assessment of yesterday's exercise? A lot of things went down yesterday. Poor turnout of voters, vote buying, and all sorts yesterday. What's your assessment of it?
Yeah, well, every election is a misgrade. Every election is a misgrade. This is the first major election after the general election, where lessons from the last general election and the issues of yesterday, it's always like that in an election. No election is perfect. Going forward is lessons learned, and then leadership, governance that follows it. I am more interested in the governance, and I am advising the winner to form a think tank and made up of strictly of the rest 17 other candidates, and let them come on board for them to participate in this election to this extent they've gone conclusively means that each and every one of them have something good and positive to offer to immortalize. So the governor must for this, whoever the winner must form an all-inclusive, kind of leadership. Engage with the people, engage with stakeholders, engage with these main candidates. Form a think tank. They should all bring their ideas together and move the state forward. That's all. That's the ultimate of it all. Those, of course, that are not so. Of course, normally those that will take legal redress is constitutionally allowed. The greatest thing that's happened in this whole thing is that it's ended in peace. Let us sustain the peace.
So will I be right to say you are satisfied with the process yesterday?
Well, when you talk about satisfaction as an observer, election has come and gone, and the electoral umpire has declared a winner. Let's move forward from there. Yes.
Thank you so very much. So let's move forward from there, and let me move back to Lagos from this point. Carry back to you.
All right, Oba, fantastic reportage and very interesting conversation you've had with all the people there. We would expect to still see you a bit more during the course of the day, and of course, we would hope that we'll get the Hope of Imo State, as he is called, to have a chat with us during the course of the day as well. But do stay safe still, Oba Adeoye, our correspondent at the Collation Center of INEC in Owerri, Imo State. Now we go on to Lokoja, and we've got Mary Chinda on the line. Mary, how is it going in Lokoja at the moment?
Good morning, Sir Kayode. It is buzzing right here at the INEC Collation Center in the state capital. And as at 10 a.m., we were actually expecting that all of those seats would have been filled, by the returning officer, by the National Commissioner for the North Central, the REC, and of course the DSS lead here. However, we're still waiting. Now, Kogi is quite interesting because late yesterday evening, of course, there was a circular by INEC saying that they were investigating, and for now they had suspended, elections, in some of this crisis area. And one question that has been on the lips of several people is, okay, are we going to have fresh elections in this area where that is the Ogori Mangogo area where we had the fake result sheets and all of that? So fingers crossed, we all here, we're waiting for INEC to, tell us what it is they're going to do about sorting out this issue of the fake result sheets. And then out of 21 local government area, Arise TV can authoritatively tell you that we've got results from local government collation officers. 13 of them have arrived yet. So we're waiting for just about 8. And that is if INEC is not going to have to conduct fresh elections in some of these crisis areas. But 13 LG collation officers are here with the results, and in a matter of moments, we're expecting that collation is going to start in earnest.
Okay, so Mary, we saw the report or the statement of INEC yesterday regarding the allegation of fake results in Kogi State. How are the people taking it when it comes to the fact that they look at that and they say that the entire election should be cancelled? But it doesn't look like the entire election will be cancelled, especially when you also consider the fact that one of the leading candidates, which is Senator Dino Melaye, is already up in arms and saying, no, he cannot accept any outcome of this.
Well, first thing, the people of Kogi State were quite, excited about going to the polls, even though there was this issue of voter apathy, that is low voter turnout in some parts of the state where I monitored. But the people spearheading this agitation of, the election is being compromised or has been compromised are the governorship candidates. And top of them is the PDP governorship candidate, Senator Dino Melaye, who is reading it, the Riots Act, so the fact that just before voting even finishes, there is an already existing result sheet flying around. So for the parties, we got 18 parties here who had actually who are contesting for the #1 position or the #1 seat in the state. The election is being compromised, and INEC has got to do something to redeem its name and get Kogi people to have faith in the electoral umpire as a body.
Okay, so the results announced so far, when you look at what is being announced so far, does it represent what percentage of the total votes? And with that, should we expect that we'll see the rest of it in the next few hours when the returning officers start to announce the rest of the results?
Okay, so, well, I'm not aware of the results being announced because I know that INEC had actually called for the collation center to be open at 10 a.m. today, and we're all here in anticipation that the results would begin. the collation officers would just begin to, come out with each of the results from the local government areas one at a time. So we're all expecting, just like I said, we're all expectant 13 local governments, the results from 13 local government areas are already at this state headquarters of INEC, and we're waiting for the collation itself to start proper today. However, this goes without saying that outside of the INEC office is a sufficient or overly sufficient presence of armed security men of the Nigerian police force, and of course the Nigerian army, paramilitary, and all of that. So there's heavy presence of security. I've also had to speak with election observers, and I'm actually even going to be joined by the CEO of Connected Development, Hamza, who has actually been monitoring the electoral process here, and he's going to be telling me what, as election observers, they think how they think that this result has gone. So Hamza, how are you? Good morning.
Good morning.
I see you at the INEC office early enough today. So tell me, as an election observer, as one of the major election observers in Nigeria, how would you rate the performance of INEC in this particular election?
I think, to be fair, we must commend INEC because of their responsiveness. For the first time, they responded adequately, saying that they were going to investigate the matter. And now they've said, oh, we're now suspending results from particularly Ogorimagogo local government. And they're still investigating and auditing, following the material and personnel trend of what actually happened. So we call them to continue on that trajectory, to uncover and tell the Nigerian people what exactly happened, but most importantly, work closely with security agencies, because we've seen greater collaboration between security, INEC, and even the electorate themselves. So I believe that right now citizens should give INEC that benefit of doubt, that yes, they will truly do what is deserving.
Well, it goes without saying that Kogi State is oversubscribed with the presence of security men. But in this crisis area, especially the Ogorimangogo area, are you foreseeing INEC holding fresh elections in that area?
Well, so it depends. All the electoral officers are on ground. So now it depends on what is the margin from various candidates. So the margin would now determine if fresh elections would hold or not. But I also think it's important not to disenfranchise anyone and give them an opportunity to cast their ballot and determine who they want them to lead them. So I believe also that this is a time where we must ensure that no one interfere with the process. And for us, we're keen about the process. How can we make the process have integrity, free and fair, but most importantly, credible? So again, INEC have an opportunity here to strengthen that trust that they have continued to build, from the aftermath of other elections.
All right, thank you so much, Hamza. Thank you so much. That is the CEO of Connected Development, one of the major election observers in Kogi State. Kayode, is over now to you.
For your reportage and for the great work you guys are doing on ground. I am told that we have Andy Omano. Andy, good morning, and we have other people lined up as well. We just want to do a quick roundup of what's going on around the three areas where we've covered election over the last 24 hours. Andy, tell us what is happening. We can see some very excited people behind you right there. What's the latest?
Okay, thank you so much. Good morning, Mr. Kayode. Yes, you are not wrong. There are people between the hours of 8 and now. There's been one form of gyration or the other. As I speak with you, I am a stone throw away from INEC Bayelsa State office. Here, the results of yesterday's governorship elections are expected to be collated and the eventual winner announced. But there's been one form of demonstration or the other, especially from people of Nembe local government area. If you look behind me, there is gyration going on there. And what is their demand? Their demand is that they didn't actually participate in the elections yesterday. And to make matters worse, results are already uploaded on the IREM. And so they want the electoral umpire to to cancel election from Nembe local government area. It's not only people of the PDP stock that are calling for this. Other stakeholders of the People's Democratic Party in Bayelsa State are calling for the cancellation of the result from Nembe local government area because they didn't participate. And that is the essence of all this peaceful demonstration, they call it, that has been on for the past 1.5 running to 2 hours. Over, Coyote.
Okay, so Andy, help us understand. We can see people behind you dancing. Are they members of a particular political party and they're excited about what they expect is the anticipated results that they're looking to have announced by INEC? Or is there another area of Yenagoa where there is demonstration indicating that people are very unhappy with what they expect will be the likely outcome of this election?
Okay, Kaude, it's not another area of the Bayelsa State Capital. It is the office in Yenagoa. The people gyrating behind me are of the People's Democratic stock. They are gyrating, waiting that INEC will do the needful. And what is that needful they are expecting INEC to do? The fact that they didn't participate in yesterday's election in Nembe local government area. But tonight, as at midnight, the election results have been uploaded in INEC. They want results cancelled and new elections conducted in Nembe local government area. So they are gyrating. Be a misgrill of gyration, I must tell you. That INEC is going to do the needful, and they are also anticipating, because you know when elections are held like this, stories make the round, stories fly around, and probably they have a wing of the fact that their candidate is likely coasting to victory. So they are here to protest, and they are also gyrating in anticipation of what is expected to be announced as over Coyote.
Okay, so Andy, just before we wrap up then, let me ask you, has there been any clear violent demonstration or very, very volatile situation over the last 24 hours from any other political party who have indicated they're disgruntled or very unhappy with the expected outcome of this result of this election? Has there been anything like that? We seem to have lost Andy Omano in Yenagoa, Bayelsa State. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we've got a couple of our other reporters on ground. We're still expecting to hear from Veteme George and Omar Bazwai. So please do stay with us. You're still watching a special edition of the morning show this Sunday morning, bright and beautiful in Lagos, and I guess in other places, especially we've seen Kogi, we've seen Imo State, and we've seen Bayelsa. A number of issues being raised as a result of the election over the last 24 hours. But we still have with us Andrew Enwanta, who is the former Edo State Commissioner of Communications and Orientation, and he's also a law lecturer. So Andrew, just as we begin to wrap up, because we can't go on till the end of the day, but as we begin to wrap up, what's your thought about what's going on right now in Bayelsa State? There are fears of all kinds of things haven't happened. There are concerns about the election itself, but there's a particular political party that is happy and seems to have all its members anticipating that the result is going to favor them, while the others seem to have already given up. How do you begin to judge that when the results have not even been announced and there are issues being raised?
Yeah, thank you. Just as we have agreed on this program, myself and others that have spoken from the places where we have election, and even my colleague, Professor Killer, who spoke earlier, that our electoral process is still at its infancy stages. and there's need for holistic reform. And what is happening in Bayelsa is actually a microcosm of what we have in Nigeria, where at times elections could be determined even before the process begins or the process is complete. And I think just like in 2007, when after the election, the president came out to say, yes, he knows that he's president today, that's the late President Yar'Adua, that there's need for the imperfections in the system that threw his own administration up to be cured. And he now started a holistic reform. Then we had panel reports like that of the Oways and others, and we are still struggling with the establishment of the Electoral Offences Tribunal. Because if we have that tribunal in place, I think it will discourage people from getting involved in all manners of electoral offences like ballot box snatching, election falsification, and the use of violence as we find it now in Bayelsa. A situation where in the riverine communities, you see some of all these people come with speedboats, they shoot periodically, take away election materials. Because of that terrain, what is happening is expected. So I think there's need for us to have a holistic reforms, because we cannot be talking of a solution now. Why? Because we still have a long way to go. What we are seeing is not just the symptoms, but a result of years of neglect, because we have refused to address some of these issues. Remember, I said the idea of using just lecturers is a big problem, because when you use a particular category of persons to conduct elections, there's room for abuse. So I've said, and I will advocate again, that there's need to involve other professionals like medical doctors, nurses, engineers, people without political affiliation. And apart from that, we should also use the clergy. I even recommended we use pastors, imams, and those of the African traditional religion, which is not just limited to Herbalists, as you suggested. No, we have many of them.
Yes.
So that when we have people of faith participate as POs, as APOs, as supervisors, as returning officer, it will change the present tone. Because I think corruption is the biggest bane. Because money exchange hands, not just the voters who are induced, but those who conduct the election. The monies are paid into their accounts. Okay, the ICPC and the EFCC, they are on the field. How many persons have been arrested? Yeah, we heard that ICPC arrested somebody, but what role is the EFCC playing? What role is the DSS playing? So I think there's need for the present leadership to provide a new pathway for future elections. I'm not so happy that we got to a point where you see a whole lot of cancellations here and there. Why cancel election results? Is it that we don't have trust in the system? Is it that we are not prepared for the electoral process? So I think what we have today is not acceptable. It does not matter whose party gets the victory. I gave an instance in Imo, my party won, but it is a process I'm even interested in. It is far from what we used to have. The level of voter apathy in this cycle of off-season election is totally unacceptable. A situation where less than a quarter of registered voters come out shows that the people have passed a vote of no confidence on the electoral empire and the electoral process. So I think there's need for the present leadership under President Ahmed Tinubu to accept that the election that brought him in was not a good one, and start the process of electoral reforms. Remember, the late President Yar'Adua came up with a 7-point agenda, but the electoral reform became the 8th agenda. Yes, we have a beautiful plan of renewed hope, but I think electoral reform should form top on the agenda of this present government, and that includes members of the National Assembly. Members of Labour Party, members of PDP, members of SDP should join forces with the ruling APC to insist that the present legal architecture should be amended to allow for reforms like, as I've earlier suggested, open ballots, the option A4 that made the June 12 election to be the best in our electoral history. And I think that is the right way to go. We cannot be crying about some of the pitfalls or some of the shortcomings or imperfections of this present election that didn't just start today overnight, but there's need for us to now start the call for electoral reforms.
Okay, we have very, very little time left between now and the next off-cycle election in Ondo and in Edo states. When you look at where we are today, what are the top 3, possibly top 5 things that you will say has to be done so that we don't have a repeat of what we've experienced here? Maybe just top 3 will do.
Okay, I think the 3 low-hanging fruits will be first, the one that will not require any form of legislative amendment is the people we use to conduct our elections. I totally disagree with the idea of using just university lecturers at the level of APO, at the level of ward collation officers and all of that. There's need to bring in other professionals. We have medical doctors that can be brought on board. We have the clergy and others. And the process of recruiting these people should begin now. You don't wait for maybe a month to that election or 2 months. That's one. Then 2, remember both Edo and Ondo elections are not going to hold on the same day. So there's need for us to start the process of preparing election materials. And also the security agencies that will be involved, we should also know that because of the problem of vote buying, we should have enough anti-graft agency officials on ground, the EFCC, the ICPC, and even the Code of Conduct staff should be involved. Because the problem of vote buying still reared its ugly head during this election. And I think we should not wait till the main election. It should begin with party congresses, primaries, where dollars, naira, and change hands. So I think the present leadership, because it's about political will of the leadership on top. Because when the head of a fish is rotting, it affects the entire body. So I'm calling on the president and members of the National Assembly to help this process to work. The security agencies, their leadership, the IG, the DG of the DSS, the pitfalls and the imperfections of this present election should be cured moving forward in these other elections. Then finally, the issue of voter apathy. There's need for our religious houses to encourage their people, their members, to come out to vote. Because election can only work if people come out to vote. We can only defend our votes when we all come out to vote. That is my position, and I hope that some of these changes will be effected in the Edo and in the Ondo elections that will come up in February and sometime later next year.
Okay, Andrew, it will be a case of a lot of people will be asking me, what kind of interview is this if I don't ask you this question? Let me ask you. You have been involved in politics. Electoral, you've been appointed to be a commissioner in Edo State. So you understand the political class. And the question that a lot of Nigerians continue to ask is, what is it about our political class across every political party that has made them such that they're so desperate to get into office, and when they get in there, they consistently fail to deliver, which is why we are where we are. There is not one political party that can say that, see what we have done. We took over this particular state, and this is what we have done, and it has become the El Dorado. There is not one political party that can do that, that can claim or lay claim to that kind of achievement. So what is wrong with our political class in Nigeria that makes them desperate to get into office, and then they get into office and fail to perform?
When we talk of our political class, what gives birth to that class? It is what we call the electoral process. And when you ask the political class, what is the fraction or the, as it were, the number of people who constitute this class, I can tell you for free, they are less than 10%. So the question now becomes opposite. Why are Nigerians apolitical? Why do we have political apathy as opposed to this issue of voter apathy, which is a subsect of political apathy? The truth is, the agents of our socialization, which begins with the family units, the school environment, and the church, have failed to play that role of giving our people positive orientation. The moment you say you are a politician, the first impression people get is that you are corrupt. So I think there's need for us to have a new system of thinking. And I think the leadership of this country is responsible for that, or should be responsible for that. And when I say leadership, I say it in a generic sense. We have men of God, when they're organizing crusades, you have hundreds of thousands of people they mobilize. Don't you think with that same strength or attitude, they can mobilize those people on election day to come out to vote, or to encourage their members to be members of political parties? Look at what is happening in America. Majority of the people there are either Democrats or Republicans, or they belong to the other political parties that are in the minority, or even independents. Bernie Sanders, who is a senator, is an independent today. And that brings me to the question of why can't we have independent candidates in Nigeria? That is the school of thought I belong to. I was constrained to leave my former party, PDP, into the APC because it was because of lack of a better alternative. In my state, Labour Party has been hijacked by PDP, by the governor of my state. So I was now faced between the devil and the deep blue sea. Whereas, if the Nigerian 1999 Constitution has a provision for independent candidacy, I, Adase Andrew Enwanta, would have wanted to run for the office of governor of Edo State. But it is because we have that missing, I'm not constrained to stick with what today is the ruling party, to see how we can lend our voice for electoral reforms, for development, and because that is the essence of being in politics. Because if you cannot bring development to your people, then there's no reason why you should be in government. And that was why informed my decision. That is what informed my decision of leaving Obasanjo's government by saying I don't want to return as a commissioner, and I had to leave the PDP because PDP brought underdevelopment to my local government, because my local government, Ego, has the best network of bad roads. And I think our leadership in this country, across boards, must set a new agenda of electoral reforms, political participation, and I think with that, future elections will be better than what we have today. That is my humble submission.
Okay, Andrew, let me ask you this question. Maybe there's a lot of theory behind it, but some people have said that there is this move over the last few years, not too young to run, and that has been passed from being a bill to an act that allows younger people to participate in politics in the way that the Constitution did not previously. So now you look at the young people who are aspiring to office. You have been in politics for a good few years. What are the things that should be said to those young people in terms of when they say words like, we want to take our country back, or we want to take ownership of our country? What are the things that you will be saying to those of them who are watching this morning that they need to do because they don't want to get their hands dirty, but yet they want political office, whether by election or by appointment?
Be lost. I won't use the word lost. After the Supreme Court gave its verdict in favor of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you discover that there was a press conference Peter Obi did where he said that the obedience movement will not just end, but there's continuity. And I say this because we had the NSAS movement that insisted for reforms in the police system, the way SARS operated. They were against the way the SARS operated, and unfortunately, that movement did not achieve much because you look at most of the recommendations that have been made by the various NSAS panel, implementation has not been given. So we'll come to the obedient movement. Those people are Nigerians. Majority of them are young people. The question is, they queued behind Peter Obi. How many of them are looking forward to becoming House of Assembly members in the future? How many of them are thinking of running for Senate?
All right.
I think the preparation begins today. We don't need to wait till the next election.
Yes.
And I think there's need for that movement to come together and set a new path for youth participation.
Yes, that's very right. Andrew Enwanta, former Edo State Commissioner of Communications and Orientation, and a law lecturer, I must remember to mention that. Thank you so much for your insight into all of the conversation we've had.